Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast here on this lovely Tuesday morning at the moment. We missed the Monday show, had a lot of things on, but we're back to get it done bright and early on this Tuesday. Hopefully be uploaded sometime this evening, hopefully around that lunchtime, 1 p.m. Who knows when you listen to this really, but we're here to wrap up all that was in round 10 of the NRL season. And because we are a bit late, we're going to waste no time and we're going to jump right into the first game of round 10, which of course was the Dolphins defeating the Parramatta Eels 20-16. This was one of those games that we tipped right, thank God. You get a bit of a spoiler alert for what's ahead, but we didn't tip many right this week, so it was good to kick things off with a good little tip here. You guys know how high I have been on the Dolphins, essentially all season. I think they've just been, one or two things away from being a really, really good side. Like, they've been competing in essentially all games, and, there's been big wins. They've been pretty inconsistent, but there's always been something about them that's really resonated with me in the way that they're playing their footy. But I thought in this game, they genuinely just dialed up their intensity. Like, the thing that they've done in the last few games, they've been pretty guilty of falling away from the contest, especially in the sort of clutch moments in the clutch period of the game, and simply just not putting together full 80-minute performances. But in this game, when the going got tough, the Dolphins got going. As soon as it got down to the nitty-gritty, they just dialed up their intensity. Dylan Brown, he scored the last try of the game for the Parramatta Eels in the 72nd minute, but genuinely just that entire last 20, I thought the Dolphins were just going at it. They were scrambling in defense. They were chasing every point, and I just loved the way that they went about it in defense. The Parramatta Eels, I think people are still sort of caught up in how that they started this season. Obviously very poor to start the season. I think since about round 5, I'd want to say, they've been decent. They have not been a bad footy side. I think if they were, if they didn't have that abysmal start and confidence wasn't at an all-time low sort of thing, they'd be a lot higher on the ladder. I think this game was a good indication of two sides pretty well near at full strength, and I think they're on very similar levels. So it was really good to see that when the Dolphins had this challenge, they could just bring it home the way they did. I thought it was a really good game. I thought in terms of standout players for the Dolphins, Isaiah Katoa, once again, we have said everything there is to say about him. We've done the posts, every single podcast we talk about him being not just the best young player in the comp, but one of the best players in the comp now. We've said the exact same thing verbatim every single week. But once again, just the evolution of him so quickly. Like, coming through the grades, I thought he was more of a 5'8" in the way he played. He had that ability to play halfback, which we're obviously saying now. But coming through the lower grades and watching him at the Panthers, I thought he was going to be a 5'8". He came to the Dolphins. They thrust him into first grade straight away, which they needed to. And he got through that first few seasons, those first two, I should say. And just, it was the nitty gritty. He was just getting through the stuff that you need to get through, really strong in defense for a younger, smaller body. And now we're just seeing the way he plays, like the tempo of the game. He plays fast, but like everything slows down for him. That, what ball was it? It was ended up being the try to Jack Bostock. Genuinely some of the best ball playing you will ever see from any player. Like the way he dug into the line, and then I don't even know how he got the ball away with the way his body was twisted. Got it out the back. I think it ended up going to Cody Nikorima. He found Herbie. Herbie found Bostock on the wing, and they just went in to score there. That was quite early in the game, but Jesus Christ, you could just see how much talent he's got. And it wasn't just that, the way he just goes about his business in every game. He's consistently running for huge meters. Once again, 114 meters from your halfback. Might have been last week or the week before we commented on how he had the most running meters aside from Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, who had some like runaway tries. He had the most run meters on his team, and he's the 20-year-old halfback. He's just an absurd player, and it's so fun watching him grow. Just in general, this Dolphins side, I'm loving watching them play. They've got so much about them. They keep coming up with some of the best plays you've seen. Like last week in the loss that they had that play that we mentioned that was like the big three through the ruck, just outside, inside, straight up the guts was Hammer with his speed. And then, that play that that Isaiah Katoa put on. There was really nothing going on. It was essentially a set defensive line from the Eels. It was like 4-on-4 on that left-hand side, and somehow through just sheer brilliance, Isaiah Katoa made that space for Bostock at the back. They played off the back of that. He's just so exciting to watch. And in general, I'm really liking the shape of this Dolphins side. Like, you look at it from top to bottom, and it's not necessarily a squad that you're sitting there going, oh, they should be at the bottom of the ladder, which we were thinking not too long ago. And they're still missing players. Like in this team that versus the Eels, they're missing Daniel Saifiti, who I think has been, for the most part, really, really good for them in the middle. They're still, of course, missing Tom Flegler. Like, those two could have been the starting front rowers for this side. And that's a formidable front row forward duo. Felice Kafusi's in at prop, and I thought he did some really good stuff in this game as well. A lot of, he's particularly been known for defense, and as he should be. Run meters wise, he's not really done the most out there since he's moved into front rower, and since he's been in the second row as well. He was never a meter eater. He had those like 1 or 2 years where he just crossed over for a few tries at the Storm, which he had that in his game. But now I love the attitude he brings. He's obviously one of their leaders, one of their inaugural signings. 9 runs for 89 meters. Yeah, it's stuff that doesn't stand out in the scoreboard, but defensively, he found himself like scrambling out on the left-hand side and chasing down players with much more speed. I think it was a tackle he cut down Will Penasini, who had like gotten around him, and he managed to get there and cut him down. I thought a lot of the work that Felice did in defense in this game was huge. I love their second rowers. Finafuiaki, he was a breakout player sort of last year for the Cowboys. He hasn't had that huge explosive game so far this year, but I think he's just been building into his work, similar to like Eli Katoa when he was at the Warriors. He had that breakout, first season. We thought he was going to be just a genetic freak, which he is. Then he went, a little bit stagnant, and then he went to the Storm, and it wasn't explosive there. Everyone thought it was going to be. He just got through work, and then after that, he moved into being, the player he's now, which is one of the best back rows in the comp. I think Finafuiaki, you look at these stats, he played the full 80, which is great to see from someone of his explosive nature. 11 runs, 119 meters from him, and defensively 43 tackles, 6 misses, which is, you want to be bumping those numbers down a bit, but it's just good to see he can get through that. Lemuelu, who I thought was one of their best, essentially since he's come to the club, he ended up starting off the bench in this one, but as soon as he got on the field, he scores another try. A player that I think is severely underrated, Lemuelu. I love what he's doing there. Just in general, I thought it was a really, really good performance for the Dolphins. Other standout players, you got to say Hammer again, doing his usual thing. We mentioned very close to the start of the season, and as the season progressed, I don't know if people are watching every Dolphins game as close as some others might be, but the work he's getting through is what we've wanted. He's combined the passing game into his elite speed and running game, but he's also getting through the work of 23 runs, 227 meters in this game, and that's off no line breaks and whatnot. He had 7 tackle breaks, but it's just hard work, and that's exactly what you want to see. And the other big standout from this game, in my opinion, was, of course, Herbie Farnworth. And if you guys are following the Instagram, you would have seen that we had him in our team of the week this week. 14 runs from Herbie Farnworth, 193 meters, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 7 tackle breaks, and a try. Of course, he's always great defensively. 26 tackles at center is a big, big number. 3 misses there. I thought the wingers were both good. Isako and Bostock, of course, Bostock scoring that try, but just the yardage that they got through was just huge for the Dolphins. When you look at their forward pack, especially, Molo, he was really good, 14 runs, 142 meters. I don't even think he played half the game. Yeah, 39 minutes, just under half a game. But, as I said, with the names that they're missing in that forward pack, for these wingers, these outside backs to be getting through that work, it is a huge, huge bonus for the Dolphins. Bostock is a big body, but he's still very lanky. In contact, he's not actually as strong as you might, expect for someone of his size. But 19 runs, 184 meters from him. Asako, 18 runs, 190 metres. Avarillo was the lowest metre count of all of them, which you'd expect of someone who's a bit more of a less touches but make them all impactful, use his speed. He's got nice hands, but still 13 runs, 123 metres from Avarillo. So I thought the outside backs were really, really good, especially defensively, because the Parramatta Eels outside backs I thought also had good games. And let's talk about them now. In terms of their stance on this game and if it's a huge loss for the club, I don't think so at all. I think, in that clutch period that we mentioned that the Dolphins turned up and they dialed it up to 11, I think that's the only area of this game that the Eels lost to the Dolphins in. I think, as we sort of alluded to, across the board, these two teams are very similar, in my opinion, at this point of the season, and they played very similar for the majority of the game. It's just when the going got tough in this game, the Dolphins were able to go to that other level, which they haven't been able to do in the past, for this season and seasons previous. Well, the Eels, they sort of didn't really. And I thought that was something that, with Mitch Moses back into this side was something that they were going to excel at. He's normally been very much known as a clutch player, Mitch Moses. But I think it's also, you're seeing the effects of no Gutherson in games like this. In close games like this, it's a Gutherson that gets you through it. And that's no knock on Isaiah Iongi. He was one of the best players in the side, in my opinion, and he has been fantastic for them all season. But it's just like attitudes like that where you need your experienced heads to help back you up. I do think Mitch Moses sort of didn't get to put his fingerprints on this game like he would have liked and like I probably expected him to. Not to say he was bad, but I think, as I said, when it got into the clutch, the 20-year-old Isaiah Katoa really controlled his troops more than Mitch Moses did. And it's not just the halfbacks. I think the entire Dolphins squad in that, last 20, they just went up to another level, while the Eels, I don't think any of them really did. And I don't think, their young squad and with everything going on at the club, they're really in a position to. But I thought Mitch Moses would have been able to rally his troops a little bit more and be like, come on, boys, get behind me. This game's there to be won, and we will take that. And that's not on Mitch Moses' head, but I just think that's the one area of this game that the Eels sort of didn't match up to the Dolphins in. Were they bad? No, not at all. I thought this was a really good game just from both sides. I think it's a good reflection of where both clubs are at. But it's just that sort of 20-minute period at the end there. Not to say that they were poor. I don't think they were poor, in my opinion. I just think that the Dolphins were able to control that period of the game a bit better than the Eels itself. So if you're a Parramatta fan, are you disappointed? Probably. You want to be winning, especially now that you got Mitch Moses back in there. And to a Dolphins side that hasn't been the most consistent this season, it's definitely a game that could have been won. But again, comparing this Eels side now to where they were in round 1, 2, it's so different. And I think they're going to win a few more games going on in this season. This origin period is going to be interesting to see whether or not Mitch Moses does line up for the New South Wales Blues. If he does, are they going to fall back into the old habits of the early parts of the season? It remains to be seen, but I thought, they're solid in this game, and I think they'll continue to build moving forward. In terms of standout players, I thought their outside backs in particular were the real standouts here. Isaiah Iongi, 24 runs, 178 metres from him, 2 try assists, 1 line break assist, 5 tackle breaks. Of course, one of those try assists, technically a line break, coming nearest to the end of the game when Kesione Kautonga, who, again, is just building into his season more and more nice. I think there's still a few effort areas that Kautonga's missing, but you can see the talent he has. And if we can build him, just keep putting the faith in him, which I believe Jason Riles is doing, I think he's got a big future ahead of him. We saw him burst on the scene with the Bulldogs in the preseason. Might have been last year's preseason, could have been the year before that. He's been around a little bit, but he's got so much talent. And to get that ball away through contact, Isaiah Iongi lurking as he always seems to be. He's always around the play, which is exactly what you want from your fullback. He goes through that gap, and then it's also really good to see Dylan Brown. He's the one up there in support with his speed. Iongi inside to Dill Brown, and Dill Brown scores that try to make it a very close game. So I love seeing that stuff. Simonson, 18 runs, 159 metres in a try in only 61 minutes. It's just come out that I think it's a broken foot for Bailey Simonson, so he's looking at like 8 to 10 weeks, which is an absolute killer, because I think in the last few seasons, I think he's been one of their most consistent players. He's been building into the gameplay, whether it's at center or wing. He's just a player that the Eels really want out there. And now with that injury, it's just absolutely killer. By the time this podcast comes out, by the time you're probably listening to it, team lists have probably dropped. And I expect Zach Lomax back this week. So that'll offset that a little bit. But it's just an absolute killer because he was playing some really good footy in the last couple of weeks for the Eels. Penasini, I thought he was really good. 15 runs, 185 metres. I liked the battle he had with Herbie Farnworth. I thought they were just going at it all day. They're both so young. They've got so much to their game. I thought they were really, really good there. For me, though, Sean Russell, I thought he was really great in this game. Again, stats don't really show it, but defensively, I thought he really stood up. There were a lot of great reads and a lot of sliding out with his speed that he could cover things. Stats, you're looking at 15 runs, 100 metres, nothing real going on there, but 17 tackles, 1 miss. I thought Sean Russell, it was very, very good defensively, and he took a lot of tough carries right into the teeth of the Dolphins forward pack. So I like that. And of course, Josh Adokar, the energy he's brought to this club, everything about him being there. When he was signed and the Eels in this rebuild and off the controversy of, previous issues with Josh Adokar, you're like, is this really what they need right now? But they've put that all behind them and they say, yeah, you're a leader at this club and you bring that energy, which he's always done. He's a player that you want to have at your club, Josh Adokar, because, he brings all that energy straight up. And here he is, 22 runs, 239 metres, 3 line breaks and 9 tackle breaks. No tries in this one. We mentioned last week that if there's a try-scoring opportunity, he will score it 9 out of 10 times, maybe even 10 out of 10 times. He rarely ever gets one wrong, Josh Adokar. But it's good just to see the work that he's getting through here. And a lot of the time, the Dolphins, they're defending well. If they give any other winger that space, it's not much space to work with, they can cover that and they've covered that space and defend that. But with Josh Adokar, he doesn't need he just needs the slightest bit of room and his speed will get him through the line. And he made that work a lot in this one. So I thought he was really good. Beyond that, for the Eels, Junior Paolo, I thought he had some good moments, 13 runs, 115 metres, 64 minutes in this game, which is still more than I really want him playing, but at the moment with their forward pack, you probably sort of need that out of him. We mentioned Kortonga and Jordan Semrani. I thought he was fantastic, to be honest. Played majority of this game in the back row. I think he ended up in the centres, played some on the wing, I think, when Simonson came out. He debuted earlier this year on the wing, I believe, and he looked good there. I heard that they're transitioning him into the second row. Ended up playing 71 minutes in this game because I think he came on pretty early when Will Penasini had a head knock. So he came on pretty early into the game and then just played the rest of the thing. And in that time between 3 different positions of centre, winger, back row, 17 runs, 162 metres he made out there and 23 tackles, 1 miss. I thought he was genuinely excellent. I thought he was bloody good. So, yeah, really excited to see what they sort of do with him, whether he turns into a starting second rower, whether he's off the bench and just has that versatility. Regardless, I like the look of him in this Eels side. So, yeah, look, all in all, just a good game as a general fan of footy to watch. I really enjoyed watching this one. As I said, both clubs will build from this. Do I see either of these clubs playing finals at the moment? Probably not, but it's such a close competition at the moment that genuinely anyone could. No one's really standing out. The Storm, they did this week, but in previous weeks they haven't even looked like the real standouts of the comp, and they're the team that I think are a landslide best team in the comp. So I think any team can win it this year, but I also think any team can make the top 8 and make the top 4. So whether these guys go on a run, I think it's very, very possible and they can make the top 8, but it remains to be seen. Regardless, it's just good to see them stringing together some good performances at the moment, and we'll see what the Origin sort of period has in store for them. Let's move on to the next game. Of course, the Newcastle Knights going down to the Gold Coast Titans 20-24 at home. The Knights were, and to lose this game, look, we all know the story. In my notes, I wrote, which we'll get to in the next game, not to spoil it if anyone missed these and you're just looking for a catch up with no knowledge of what happened in the footy. Tale of two halves, and I was like, oh, it wasn't just the Knights game, it's the game after it. So it was like, oh, the Friday night games, that was the story of the Friday night games. And then it leaked over into the next week with the Raiders and the next day with the Raiders and the Bulldogs. And it's like, shit, this is just the story of the round, is giving up huge leads. So the Knights, 20-24, they were up 20-0 at halftime, and they put together a performance that I thought they were great. They were really, really good. They're showing their defense, which we've known they've had all season, keeping the Titans who, the Titans have been quite poor all season, but they've got attack in them. So to keep them to nil, really good. But to also put 20 points on at halftime was a really good stuff from the Knights at home in front of a good crowd. And then they come out in that second half, and it's one of the worst halves of footy I've ever seen. Like, we'll talk about the next two games, which are also sort of comeback victories and losses, whatnot. We'll talk about them in a similar but different light. For this one in particular, it was one of the worst halves of footy I've just genuinely and ever seen. They could not hold a football to save their life in this one. Every single time. I don't know what their completion rate actually was. Let's actually have a look at that, because I thought by half, so completion rate ended up at 75%. I'd go to as far to say it would have been nearing 100% in that first half. And then in that second half, they couldn't do anything. Every single time that they had the ball, they'd drop it, whether it was James Schiller or Greg Marju or Dane Gagai. Every single time coming out of their own end, drop ball in the set. Doesn't matter if it's the first tackle, the second tackle, the third. They could not complete a set. There was always a drop ball, and they invited the Titans back into territory, and they genuinely gift wrapped the game for them. And the big thing I want to say when we get to the Titans is not like, yes, the Knights lost this game. I think they were far better in the first half, and then they were genuinely terrible in the second. But the Titans had every excuse to just fall over. You're down 20-0 at halftime in Newcastle. You got the home crowd getting under your skin, which they do that. And with your injuries and with the noise, with Fafita, and there's a lot of excuses you can give the Gold Coast Titans. Whether or not they're valid excuses, there are excuses. They had every right to just fold over and be like, look, it's a tough game. It's a tough season. It's just sort of over. But they kept at it and they stayed in it. And when I think they got their first points in that second half, which wasn't too far after it, they scored. Oh, sorry, it wasn't 20-0 at halftime. I swear it was. Phil Sammy did score just before halftime at the 34th minute. But regardless, it was 20-0 for a good period of that game. When they get that first try coming out of halftime, I think it just gave them so much belief. And it's not like they scored again and again straight after that. They had to build into the game, but they just believed as soon as that happened, we're alive in this game. We've been playing some bang average footy, but we're alive in this game. And they just held strong. They kept trying some wacky things, which is sort of tends to be what the Titans do. And they end up scoring right near the end. Well, they scored in the 65th minute through AJ Brimson. Again, scrappy try. Then they scored in the 77th minute to win the game. Very scrappy try as well. But that is the Titans. They don't make it. They do everything a bit unorthodox. It's never really pretty, but they just got it done. And I think, as I said, you can look at the Knights and say, terrible performance, and they gave the Titans the game, which I agree with. But you still have to be willing to play some footy and to believe in yourself and to be in that game to be able to score 24 unanswered points and win the game against, again, a good defensive Knights outfit. The Knights, very poor this season, in my opinion, but their defense has been relatively strong. Normally, if they get into a 20-point lead, they're going to go on with it, even if they don't score another point. So to score 24 points and win the game, I thought was really, really good for the Titans. Wasn't, a pretty win? Absolutely not. But it's something they can definitely build on, and I want them to build on it. You guys know I love watching the Titans when they're actually on. Hopefully they can build on it. The Knights, I don't know really what's going on with them. They got that big win over the Rabbitohs, and, it wasn't a very good Rabbitohs outfit with all their injuries and whatnot last week. But that should have been the kickstart. They came into some quote-unquote easy games. Rabbitohs with their outs Titans here at home, and then they go into Eels next week. It should have been bang, bang, bang. There's 3 wins on the trot. We're kickstarting our season. We go on a run. Now that Eels game is shaping as this is a must win. This is like season defining game. And it's not necessarily like, oh, they need a big win over a top tier club. We're looking at the Eels. We're still down the bottom of the ladder. And we're talking about that as a season defining game, because if they lose that, it's just the writing says everything. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just, it's a tale of 2 halves. It was a really good first half and just a abysmal second half for the Knights. And yeah, I haven't been very high on them all season. Before the season started, I tipped them for last place on the ladder. I saw enough out of them in the trials that I'm like, hang on, I believe in this side all of a sudden. And then they've not played at all like they did in the trials. Since the season started, their attack still looks terrible. I don't know what they're doing at halfback. Fletcher Sharp is doing absolutely everything out there, and he's everywhere on the field, but he's getting no support from anyone else, including Kalen Ponga. So yeah, I just don't really know what's next for the Newcastle Knights. But let's talk about some of their positives. We just mentioned that man, Fletcher Sharp, one of my absolute favourite players, the Cessnock Goanna. 1 try again in this one after his hat-trick last week. 9 runs, 94 metres from him, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, and 2 tackle breaks. And once again, 20 tackles and only 2 missed. As I said, he's everywhere on the field for them. In attack, he's setting things up on the left-hand side, but he's also the first player to support. And I think, some of Kellen Ponga's tries have not been given to him this year because Fletcher is always there in support. He's playing like a fullback in that sense. He's one of the best support players in the comp, but he's just running it. As soon as he's got the ball, he's running full speed. He's not scared of contact, and he's breaking tackle, and he's making things happen. He's unorthodox in the way that he plays as well, but he's just an exciting talent. And he can make something happen from nothing, to be honest. I thought he was really, really good. I say in this game, but again, it's the first half, but that's sort of how the entire Knights were, to be honest. So when I say he was really great in this game, it's essentially, unfortunately, just 40 minutes. No, I don't think he was bad in the second half. I don't think the Knights lost because of Fletcher Sharp. I think there were, as I said, so many issues with just possession and just awful completion rates that really fucked their game up. But I thought Fletcher Sharp was really good. Jacob Saifiti, I thought, was unbelievable. Now, we wrote down just his stats for that opening half. It was just a mammoth opening stint. And in general, the game was fantastic as well from him. But he played 32 minutes straight in that first half. 16 runs, 172 metres, 15 tackles, 0 missed. In the first half alone, he had 172 metres. He has just stepped up in such a big way for the Knights this season, and have needed him to. It's not necessarily that he has to be the one leading the pack, but as soon as he's gone, they don't have the depth. They do not have people that can step into his role. I thought he was genuinely huge. It's really good to see him stepping up now with Daniel sort of leaving the building. He ended up with 56 minutes in this game. So he played 24 minutes after that opening stint. Ended up 21 runs, 213 metres out of him. No line breaks and all of that. Only 1 tackle break, 33 tackles, 0 missed. He was genuinely unbelievable. It's one of those performances which we'll talk about a few more times with other players this round, that he deserves so much better from his side. It just sucks because I don't want to say all of the errors were, but I'm pretty sure all of the errors were just outside backs in that second half that just gift wrapped it. And that's killer as someone in the middle who's working his absolute dick off to just have all your outside backs fuck it up. It's just tough. And the outside backs weren't bad in that first half. Like, we still look at their stats. Schiller, 17 runs, 176 metres. Gagai, 13 runs, 109 metres. Best, 15 runs, 172 metres. And Marju, 18 runs, 186 metres. Like, they had their work in the first half. They were getting through that. They were playing well. But then this second half, look at this. Holy God. So 2 errors from Ponga, 3 from Schiller, 2 from Gagai, 1 from Best, 2 from Marju, 1 from Sharp, 1 from Cogger. Listen to this. 0 Saifidi, 0 Crossland, 0 Thompson, 0 Lucas, 0 Pierce-Paul, 0 Frizzell, 0 Brayley, 0 Croker, 0 Elliott, 0 Jones, and 0 Tom Kant, who I don't think played as the 18th man, no. But that is 0 errors across the entire Knights forward pack. Not a single one made an error. And every single one of the outside backs made at least one error. And that is killer. There is nothing worse than being a forward and yet working hard out there to give your team field position, because the forwards, they do the tough stuff. And the backs get their praise, and fair enough, they're normally the best players on the field, but the tough stuff doesn't happen. Like, they don't get to do their pretty stuff if the tough stuff isn't done by their forward pack. And the Knights did all, like the Knights forward pack, they stood up in a huge way, and then the Knights outside backs just threw it away. And there is nothing worse. So I feel big time for the Knights and Jacob Saifiti in particular. But across the board, Leo Thompson, 12 runs, 112 metres. Dylan Lucas, he's just getting better and better and better. I hope he gets into the Blues extended squad in some way. 13 runs, 130 metres from him. 1 line break assist, 1 try. 3 tackle breaks, 40 tackles, 2 missed. Kaipius Paul, he was bloody good as well. 9 runs, 74 metres, but the big thing for him defensively, 38 tackles. And Tyson Frizzell, I thought he was really good at lock forward as well. Only 49 minutes from Tyson, but 15 runs, 161 metres from Frizzell, and 32 tackles, 1 missed as well. So, yeah, it's just unforgivable for the Knights, but I don't know, there's enough to build on, right? You have to think so. They were great for the first half, and their forward pack stood up. Just cut those errors out of your game and you've got a team here. But regardless, it's just, a really disappointing game for the Knights. For the Titans, we've already spoke about, how good it was for them to hang in this game. They had every reason not to, with everything that's going on in their season and with how they've been playing. They could have let this game end up being a 40-0 shellacking, and not much more gets said about them. Everything that has been said about their season has already been said. But they hung in there when they needed to. Obviously wasn't a great first half, and in general, probably wasn't a great game in general. A lot of their tries were scrappy, but who cares? They scrapped for them, and sometimes it's these games, these scrappy performances, that you can grind out a win, and that's the thing that shapes your season. We know the Titans can score points. We know that. That's what this Titans team is. But for them to just hang in there and then be like, we'll score in some weird which ways against a good defensive side and we'll win this game and we'll grind that out. That could be the win that this Titans team really needs to sort of shape their season. I thought they were really, really good to hang in this one. And I'm just happy that they sort of got this win when all seemed against them. In terms of standout players, AJ Brimson has to get the mention. I thought, Jaden Canby, he was rushed back from injury and he was solid. He had a few errors here and there, but a lot of those errors were again effort errors. He was pushing up in support and then got walloped and dropped the ball and whatnot. But AJ Brimson, he really stood up in this one as sort of the quote unquote dominant playmaker of the two. And just went at it. I wouldn't even say he was the dominant playmaker. Again, he's not really playing like a traditional 5'8", but he's playing well regardless. He scored those 2 tries to end up winning the game. The only other try scorer for the Titans, Philip Sami, scored a double, also made our team of the week on the bench. We'll talk a little bit about him in a second. But AJ Brimson, he just, as I said, it was unorthodox, but he's an unorthodox player, and the Titans are an unorthodox team. They made it work. 13 runs, 128 metres from him, 1 line break, 1 tackle break, 2 tries from him, both sort of off kicks in a way. One was off a kick and then bounced around. The other, I think, ended up being an offload back inside that he literally just caught and dropped over and scored. But he scored those tries, and it's good to see when your team needs it, those players standing out. Philip Sami, the other try scorer for them, also scoring a double. 21 runs, 181 metres from him, 2 line breaks, 8 tackle breaks, and 2 tries. He's another one that he's so underrated. He puts these stats up essentially every game and gets absolutely no recognition for him. I don't even think I've spoken about Phil Sami this year, and I guarantee if I went and looked at his stats, he'd be doing this almost every week. If he was picked in this Queensland side, as a New South Wales fan, I would I wouldn't necessarily be quote unquote worried, but he's a player that you're like, shit, I don't really want to go up against him because he's unorthodox, as we've said. He just does things a bit differently, but he's so hard to handle and he works bloody hard. He's been a stalwart of this Titans team for a long while now, and it just goes to show why he's such a good bloody player. I thought he was fantastic in this game, and as I said, that's why he made our team of the week. Brian Kelly, defensively, a lot better in this game than he sort of has been. He's still got a lot of, improvement to do. Still 4 missed tackles, but again, got through his work and he was just physical in defense, and that's what I wanted to see from him. But of course, the big man that you have to mention is Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. This bloke is the Gold Coast Titans, not because he is unorthodox and he's flashy and it's all about attack. He like the Titans team in general. Like, if you look at what the Titans are, Tino's probably the furthest thing from what the Titans are, but he is the heart of this team. Without Tino, this team is just nothing. 70 minutes Big Tino played at lock forward, 24 runs, 244 meters, 2 line break assists, 3 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, 39 tackles, 4 tackles missed. Absolutely everything that comes from this Titans team, points wise, anything wise, terms of momentum, it's all off the back of Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. He is just an unbelievable player. He's an unbelievable talent. All the reports came out last year when Fafita signed with the Panthers and the Roosters, all that debacle, I should say. Tino pulled him aside and just let him know, as the leader he is, he's like, I'm disappointed in you. We are building here. We can build something very, very special here. And according to all reports, it was Tino laying it out on David that turned David around and said, fuck, I do want to be here. I do want to be a Titan. I believe in you, and I believe in you as my leader, as my tribal chief. And I believe in the way that this team can build because you're at the helm of it. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows for the Titans at the moment. They've still got a lot of learning curves, but fuck, Tino cannot be doing any more. And I hope he stays at this club forever. Obviously, he signed like the longest deal. I know there's a lot of clauses in that deal, though. I just hope he stays here and they can build something special. It doesn't seem like it's anywhere near, in the next couple of years, but in 5 years' time, in 6 years' time, hell, Tino could play for another 10. If Tino gets this team as the captain to a premiership, I don't care when it is. But if it happens, that's all that I need for him. I'd love to see him just carve out a career here because he's just so fucking good. And he is the Titans. Without Tino, the Titans, I don't know if they win a game all year. Like, he's that much of a swing for this side. Besides that, Cleese Haas I thought was good. Bo Fermor was good. 15 runs, 149 meters from him, and just doing his regular things in defense. Mo Fotuaika ended up with 60 minutes in this one, 12 runs, 128 meters. Still not getting enough out of Regan Campbell-Gillard, in my opinion, but I've said that every week. But yeah, look, we've said sort of all we can say about them. Just a good, gritty win for the Titans, and hopefully that can sort of start to turn their season around. Let's move over to the next game. Now we're in the sort of chapter of comebacks in the NRL in round 10. The Broncos losing this game to the South Sydney Rabbitohs 14-22, but another one that at halftime, Broncos 14-0, and everyone expected it to be. Like, I think this was the game of the round that had the biggest odds. There was the Storm Tigers game this round. I'm pretty sure this game had the furthest swing in odds as well. I tipped the Broncos, and I had every belief that this was a win. They got sort of embarrassed last week. They had to show up against, Wayne Bennett, former coach and whatnot, former legend of the Broncos. And a Rabbitohs team that they got names back in this one, but they're still far from bloody full strength. This had to be a Broncos win. At halftime, 14-0 up, you're like, this is good. It's not the Broncos putting on 40 points and a half, but that's probably a good thing. We want to see them just grind out a win. And the Rabbitohs, they weren't falling over. So to only, let in 14 points, that was good for the Rabbitohs, but for the Broncos, it's more so the fact that they'd kept this team to nil and they managed to score these 14 points against a gritty side. And you're looking great. They've taken the brunt out of the game. They got through that first period where the Rabbitohs are going to show all their heart, but then they're going to fall away, the Rabbitohs, because of all their injuries and whatnot. The Broncos will go on to win a good game here. Complete opposite in the second half. The Rabbitohs, they scored essentially just after break with Saliva Havili, and then the game was just, it was theirs from then on, and I don't really know why. Like, I don't know what happened to the Broncos, but we'll get to, let's cut straight to the end. No, okay, we won't talk about the end right now, but I'm worried about the Broncos big time now. A team with, we mentioned all their stars on paper, they're one of the best teams in the comp, but a team with their experience, like Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds, is like over 600 games of experience between those two halves. They should be able to just go, okay, boys, yeah, they've scored coming out of the breaks, out of the gates at halftime. Let's not let that rattle us. Let's stick to our structures. We know what we are. We know who we are. Let's do this. And it just didn't happen. And I don't know if it's Reynolds or Hunt's fault. I don't think either of them played well in this game, to be fair. But I don't know who needs to be the leader there. Adam Reynolds is the captain. Patrick Carrigan, essentially is the leader out there. I don't know if he's telling them enough. But I don't know what to say about the Broncos. We'll get back to them in a second. We're going to switch over to the Rabbitohs real quick. For them, though, we all, even if you didn't see this game or heard nothing, you know how this game ended. It's just Latrell Mitchell, just wow. Absolutely wow. He inspired his team in every single way, through their efforts and their grind, and they grit and they grind. We've already mentioned that. But then when it came to the big moments, he stood, I should say, and delivered. He was just unbelievable. So his stats for the game: 1 try, 18 runs, 112 meters, 1 line break, 2 tackle breaks. You're not looking anything too extreme there. But there's the Payne Haas break in the first half. Payne Haas also is probably one of the fastest front rowers in the comp. He can move, Payne Haas. He's also, huge. He's one of the best athletes I've ever seen. And Latrell Mitchell, 1-on-1, bang, stops him dead in a try saver there. Then there's in the second half, I think it's in the second half, Dean Mariner, he makes a break, and Dean Mariner, a bit opposite of Haas, but he's one of the quickest players in the comp. He takes Mitchell to the outside and sprints for the corner, and Mitchell, with his speed, gets him again and drags him over the sideline before the thing. There's 2 try savers and 2 different ways to be like, we're not letting you guys in. You can try and do all these different freak athletes and their different, prowesses of the game. I'm going to stand up to all of you, and I'm going to stop you all, and my team are going to build off the back of this. And they fucking did. And then when, the time came, a 50-meter drop goal from Latrell Mitchell to put the Rabbitohs ahead by 2 points, because, of course, past the 40-meter line means a 2-point field goal. He puts them ahead with 3 minutes to go, and the Broncos give up. And I don't just mean they, all the wind came out of their sails and they tried stuff. They gave up. They completely just, there's no other way of saying it. They spat the dummy and they just quit. Plain and simple, they quit. Latrell Mitchell crossed in the 79th minute, in the last minute of the game, when the siren's ticking over and the Rabbitohs are right on their line and they've got this game wrapped up. Latrell Mitchell, the ball gets played to him. He picks it up from dummy half and he just sits there on his knees. And the Broncos, they start walking off the field. The game's not done. They start walking off the field because Latrell Mitchell's taken a knee to time waste because the Rabbitohs have won the game. The Broncos give up. They quit. They start walking away. And Latrell's like, okay. And he just, jumps over from dummy half off his knees because there's no one there. It's not like the Broncos just wrapped him up or they tried to grab him and steal the ball from him. It's not like Latrell Mitchell picked the ball up from dummy half and laid on the ground. He just took a knee. The Broncos didn't tackle him. They didn't go for the ball for a strip and try and win the game from that. They just walked away. And Latrell Mitchell jumped over from dummy half and scored to make it a 22-14 win to the Rabbitohs. And that is the worry I have for the Broncos. If I was the coach of any footy side, but especially the Broncos in that moment, I am dropping everyone. That is pathetic. You quit. No team quits. It was unbelievable. If I'm in Madge's position after a game like that, and I don't know what bloody depth they have, but anyone not named Payne Haas and Pat Carrigan, you are not playing next week. Go fucking have a long, hard look at yourself. It is disgusting what the Broncos threw up in that second half, and I am unbelievably worried about this side now. Not that, I care necessarily if they do win or, if they do good or bad, doesn't really matter to me. I'm just here to watch good footy, and it was still a good match because of the theatrics of it and because of what the Rabbitohs were able to achieve. But yeah, for the Broncos to do that, it is disgusting, and I just don't know what they do to come back from that. They shouldn't have lost this game. They had no reason to lose this game, and the Rabbitohs, we mentioned it, sort of similar to the Titans. If the Rabbitohs lose this game 40-0 to the Broncos, nothing said. Everything can already be said about the Rabbitohs. They're in a huge injury toll. They're against a Broncos team so much better on paper that were coming off a loss and they needed to perform. Nothing's really said. People would just be like, and I'd get here on this podcast and say, yeah, it's a tough loss from the Rabbitohs, but like that's where they are at the moment with their injuries and whatnot. And that's the end of the conversation. But they grit their teeth and they win this game. And now that, it turns to the Broncos and it's, what the hell are you guys doing? So, yeah, I don't know. Broncos fans, I don't really know what you want to hear. If you guys aren't as livid as I am, then I don't know what you're looking at there, because I if my team did that, I would be furious. And I am furious at the Broncos, and I'm not even a Broncos fan. So, fans, you have every right to be absolutely fuming at your club. As I said, in terms of standouts, the people who can hold their head high are Patrick Carrigan and Payne Haas. 75 minutes from Patrick Carrigan. He did 20 runs, 176 metres and 52 tackles with 0 missed. Payne Haas in 62 minutes, 13 runs, 153 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 41 tackles, 0 missed as well. Those two just went at it, and they had the forward pack difference. These two should have ran amok over the Rabbitohs, and they did, and the Broncos did nothing with it. Nobody else stood up. I guess you could say, Jordan Ricky, he was all right. He scored a try, 9 runs, 85 metres, 34 tackles, 1 miss. Corey Pakes ended up playing off the interchange bench, as he has been for the last couple of weeks. 44 tackles, 0 misses, and 0 negative ineffective tackles. So 100% tackle efficiency and 44 tackles in only 49 minutes. Beyond that, what is there to say? I don't know what to say about this team. It's just abysmal. Stats-wise, you can look across the board, and they're actually all doing pretty all right. Like Selwyn Cobbo, 20 runs, 195 metres. But he had some crucial errors in this one, like 4 errors in the end of that. Dean Mariner scored a try, 170 metres, but 4 errors as well. I don't know what to say. Let's just leave it at whoever I've just given raps there. They get the raps. Everyone else, you're getting dropped to reserve grade after that. Fucking hell, it was bad. For the Rabbitohs, let's move on to the positive side of things. What a massive win for their season. They had no right to win this game, but they stood up. Latrell Mitchell's going to get all of the talk, and as he should, for that, for the 2 monstrous try savers that he did, for the drop goal that won the game, for that try at the end. Everything good was Latrell Mitchell, and he deserves all the raps for that. However, I thought his forward pack really stood up in this one. Jai Arrow, he grinded for absolutely everything, which we know Jai Arrow does. 15 runs, 118 metres from him, 22 tackles. He was going after it in attack, any loose ball he scrambled for. That's Jai Arrow, and they needed him to be doing that. I love him at prop forward, just in the middle in general, whether it's locker and at prop. That's where I think he plays his best footy. Speaking of prop forward and playing your best footy, Keon Kalua-Matangi, who was moved into the front row this week, ended up playing 73 minutes. He had 24 runs for 212 metres. He had 37 tackles and 1 miss. That's just absurd numbers from Kaloamatangi. Obviously, he played a bit of lock last year. He was really, really good in that position. And a lot of questions were raised of whether or not he should be there, in that front row, just in that middle rotation this year. I was of the mind, I thought once they get all their boys back, I'm happy to have him back in the second row. But he's been pretty quiet this season in second row. He hasn't been bad at all. Like, I don't think he's been poor there, but he's been quiet. And, their front rowers, through a mix of different things, haven't been putting together great performances. So to move him back into that, into the middle forward position this game against as we've said, the huge forwards of Payne Haas and Pat Carrigan, for Jairo and Kaloamatangi to stand up to them and go at them 100% was just huge. And I didn't think it was something that was going to be able to be accomplished, but they did that. I thought he was unbelievable, of course, making our team of the week as well. Havili at hooker, 68 minutes. He scored that try just after halftime, as we said. Only 25 tackles, far out. They sheltered him in defense. But someone who hasn't played hooker for a while now, he's traditionally been a middle forward. He can fill in there, but to play 68 minutes at hooker, I thought he was really, really good, when they don't really have many other options there. In fact, when Jairo came on to reprieve him, I didn't think it was the right call, to be fair. I still don't agree with Jairo being on the bench. And if he's on the bench, he shouldn't be coming on at hooker, but, that's neither here nor there. When Jairo came on, it wasn't great, and they needed Havili back out there, to be honest. So I thought he was great. Ewan Aitken, we talked about Jairo scrapping for everything. I thought Ewan Aitken did the exact same. Played the full 80 at second row, 11 runs, 107 metres, and 48 tackles for one missed. He was fantastic. Just what a game for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. This is a season not defining game, as I said. Like, nothing said if they lose this one, to be honest. But it's a game that shapes their season. They can build off this. They can build off this in a huge way, because to beat the Broncos when they had no rhyme or reason to, the way that they did with these moments in attack, defense, the scramble, the attitude, the big plays, to do it all into this one game against a good side in the Broncos is just amazing. So it is unreal win for the Rabbitohs. We'll leave it there, though. Obviously, two different ends of the spectrum, these two clubs, after that game. So we'll have to see what the season holds for both of them. It's going to be interesting as a neutral fan nonetheless, but I'm excited to see how these teams progress. But yeah, what a performance from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. That moves us into the next game. Of course, another comeback victory. The Bulldogs defeating the Raiders 32-20. At halftime, this game is 20-0, and I'm sitting there. I've penciled in my notes, and I've had to switch it up a little bit, but I just said the Raiders, their attitude from the opening whistle was just on another level to the Bulldogs. Like, this was one of those top of the table clashes I was so excited for. Everyone was excited for it, but I thought both teams were going to come out at a very similar level, and it was just going to be back and forth, back and forth. But the Raiders' attitude, it was just on another level. They wanted this game. They were hungry for it. They could not wait for this challenge. And the entire first half, I'm just sitting here thinking about how much I love watching this club play. And that still holds true. I'm loving watching the Raiders this season. Obviously, the second half is a different story, but when we mentioned that attitude and how hungry they were, the fire in their eyes for this game, I think at halftime, they had their full. They couldn't keep that same energy. Whatever preparations that they had during the week and whatever was said before the game to get them up for this game by Ricky Stewart and their coaching staff, that was all present, and it worked for one half. But after they're up 20-0 and that fire burns down and it dulls down, I don't think they were abysmal. I don't think it was like a Broncos or Knights second half loss where you're they were just genuinely terrible in the second half. But I think they lost that hunger. They lost that fire that they had in that first half that made them so fucking potent. And they also went up against, one of the best teams in the comp in the Bulldogs who had that fire. They had a calmness about them that even after losing 20-0 in that first half, they came out, you look at them in the sheds and nobody's heads are down. nobody's necessarily like fired up, like, we're going to get at this, but they're calm. They're like, we know who we are. We know our identity. We're the Bulldogs. We're going to win this fucking game. And they did. End up being 6 tries scored in that second half by the Bulldogs, and they went on to win this game. I think their captain, Stephen Crichton, put on just a masterful performance. Obviously made our team of the week last week with a huge attacking display. And this game as well, just a captain's knock of the highest proportion from Stephen Crichton. He was just unbelievable in his leadership, in his attack, his defence, and just getting his boys up for this game. He's one of the best leaders in the comp. And yeah, he just got them right up for this game. And 6 tries to nil to end up winning this game 32-20 after being down 20-0 at halftime. It's just unbelievable. Now, do I have, we've obviously said with the Broncos and the Knights, I'm worried and whatnot, and it's just abysmal leads to throw away. And yes, it's a bad lead to throw away. The Raiders should have gone on to win this game after their first half, but am I worried about them? Not necessarily, no. Like, the Bulldogs are a far better side than, essentially every other team in the comp. And the Raiders showed that they have what it takes to compete with, not just compete with them, but to flog them. If they can just have that desire and that hunger, and, maybe when it comes to a finals game or a grand final, the Raiders will have that for a full 80 minutes, they can 100% tow it with them and beat this side. I just think the Bulldog, it was just a tale of two halves in this one. The hunger from the Raiders in the first, and the calmness and belief in their identity from the Bulldogs in the second. It just blended to create a game like this, and it was a great spectacle to watch. And I'm not necessarily worried about the Raiders, and I'm not necessarily worried about the Bulldogs for giving up that first half lead either. I think these are just two premier sides of our competition at the moment. And just a great game to watch. Let's start over with the Raiders standout players. Let's start with Zach Hosking. I've talked about him a lot of times on this podcast this year, on the podcast last year. I'm a huge, huge fan of Zach Hoskins. I just think he needs to be starting every single week. Every single game he needs to be starting and needs to be playing close to 80 minutes. Now, he did start in this one, I believe. Where are we? Yeah, so he started at quote-unquote prop. We sort of know that ends up being lock forward with Morgan Smithies moving into the front row rotation. But I thought, he just, every single game he plays, the moments he comes up with in defense, the moments he comes up with in attack, like, he's just consistently coming up with huge moments. He's a footy player just through and through, and whether he's playing on the edge, whether he's playing in the middle, I think he needs to be starting, and he needs to be going as close to 80 minutes as he can. Now, luckily / very much unluckily, luckily for Zach Hosking and unluckily for Matty Nicholson and the Raiders, I believe Matty Nicholson it's just come out that he has a syndesmosis injury and a fractured tibia nearing the end of that game, which is absolutely killer because the game was over by this point as well. So he's now missing 10 to 12 weeks or something, which is killer because Nicholson has been playing some fantastic footy. And just, for the Raiders in general, losing someone like that who's playing some great footy, you hate to see it. But yeah, once again, it probably does open that door for Zach Hosking to just lock down that 80-minute role forever. Now, if Matty Nicholson comes back, does he take it back? Probably. He probably deserves it after how he played this season. But then again, I thought Hosking deserved it after his first 2 rounds before his injury. So it's just unlucky and lucky, and just it's rugby league. It's just how sports work. Regardless of when he comes back, if he plays at starting second row or if he's off the bench, Nicholson or Hosking or whatnot, I don't think either of them necessarily care. I think both these players obviously just buy into the Raiders culture and the identity, and they're happy to play wherever. But yeah, I thought Hosking was unbelievable. 15 runs, 119 metres from him, 1 try and 29 tackles with only 1 missed. I expect him to just play second row for 80 minutes now. The other thing is Hudson Young, I'd assume, would still play Origin, so there's another position to sort of lock down there. Regardless, I think Zach Hosking has to be out there for as long as possible. While we're on Hudson Young, I thought he was fantastic. especially for that first half. Now, in the second half, he started missing a fair few tackles. In fairness, like on Viliami Kikau, who we talk about the tale of two halves, Viliami Kikau's second half was absolutely monstrous. And I don't know how many players are able to defend him when he was playing the way he was, Viliami Kikau. But still, I think his defense in the second half, Hudson Young, left a little bit to be desired, ended up making 29 tackles with 6 misses. But in that first half alone, he was so hard to handle, just constantly going at it. He ended the game with 17 runs, 154 metres, 1 line break, 5 tackle breaks, and another try. For me, as a New South Wales fan, he still has to be in Origin. Now, as I said, that second half and that defense, you have to tidy those things up if you want to be an Origin player. But I still think he deserves, with the way he's been playing this year and the way that the Raiders have been playing this year, I think he deserves to be in Origin. And I'd be picking him over most second rowers at the moment. He's someone who just feels like an Origin player, and he's been hard done by before. I'd love to see him in Origin this year. Hudson Young. Joseph Tarpany, again, a mammoth effort, 20 runs, 171 metres, 5 tackle breaks, 4 offloads from Tarpany, 37 tackles. I thought Tom Starling was great. And while we're on Tom Starling, that try that they took away from him is it's one of the worst calls I have ever seen. It is so. What was it, like a strip on the ground, or like he cleaned up a loose ball, whatever the hell it was. He got off the ground with absolutely no one touching him, and he dove over for a try, and then they've caught it back and said, oh, he's held. Like, well, the ref awarded it. The ref had put it up as a fucking try. And then the bunker went back and was like, no, actually, he's held. No one touched him. Even the Bulldogs players were, they knew it was a try. They'd already set up that behind the goalpost for the kick. This is a try. And then it gets pulled back for no reason. I don't know why the bunker fucking decides to do it. It's embarrassing. It's disgusting. The bunker is stupid, and whoever made that call, far out, just quit your job. I don't care if you make good decisions all the time. Whatever you just like, how you came up with that decision, You've got problems, mate. I do not care. That is ridiculous. Regardless, Tommy Starling thought he was very good again, just coming up with really good moments in defense, 48 tackles, 5 missed, but he just went at it all day, played the full 80, thought he was really good. And Matt Timoko, I'd penciled in again at about half-time that he was having his best game of the season, in my opinion. Now, again, that second half sort of limited it to ended up being his best half of the season, Timoko. In the second half, he missed a tackle on Bronson Xerri, I think it was, who went through and scored a really good try. But in that first half, defensively, I thought he was really, really good. He was making a lot of great reads, and in contact, one-on-one contact, he was impossible to beat in those tackles. So I thought defensively he was unbelievable in that first half, shutting down numerous attacking opportunities against, as we said, a very dangerous Bulldog side. He also had that line break, and he looked bloody rapid, sprinting away for that line break and then linking up with Savage, who scored. Ended the game with 12 runs, 114 metres. The tackles end up being 19 tackles, 3 missed. So, as I said, end up being like one of his best halves of footy and not best games overall, but I thought he was still had a really good game as well. And KO Weeks, far out, he is rapid. He is so quick. When he shot through just the little bit of space and just took Tracy to the outside and just absolutely left him for dead to score another try, he's so fast. He's turning into someone who I believed they could not do anything with him at fullback. I thought even when they were winning games at the start of the season, he was doing absolutely nothing. He's turned from someone who I thought was an actual detriment to their side to one of their better players. I thought his evolution in general, for like over the last couple of years, but especially this year from round 1 to where we are now, I think KO Weeks has turned into such a good footy player, and he's still got so much growing in his game. Like, this is still someone who's relatively new to rugby, well, not rugby league, but relatively new to first grade, relatively new to fullback, relatively new to this club. He's just going to keep getting better and better. So I thought he was really good as well. And lastly, I just want to give the Raiders bench in its entirety a massive shout out. Like, I feel like It's one of those that they've sort of been just unsung heroes this season. I just essentially gave an entire rap to the forward pack, everyone in the forward pack of the Raiders. But the big thing is when those starting players come off, there's like no drop off. And I think no one's giving the bench credit for that. It's not mentioned that when these big dogs come off, there's just absolutely no momentum. There's no momentum change. There's no drop off. As soon as these players come on, they keep it the same and they keep playing good footy. I think Adam Mariota especially has been the poster child for it. Obviously, Josh Papali'i off the bench as well has been huge. But yeah, just wanted to give them all a massive shout. They have been genuinely fantastic as well. For the Bulldogs, now, there's a lot of names who deserve raps. We've already spoken about Stephen Crichton and how amazing he was just in leadership and big moments and everything. We'll read through stats just for those who want to read into that sort of thing. But 12 points, 4 goals from 6 attempts, 1 try, 9 runs, 161 metres, 3 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 2 try assists, 4 tackle breaks, 9 tackles, 2 miss. Just everything that he could have done, he did. He was unbelievable. Jerry, I thought, had a sort of tough sort of first half, but not tough because he was bad, but just he was contained really well. In the second half, he broke the game open. He was fantastic. 14 runs, 182 metres. Connor Tracy, I thought, was very, very good, as he has been all season. Another one of my faves. 17 runs from him, 220 metres, 1 line break assist, 3 tackle breaks. It didn't give him the try assist. I swear he hit an unders ball to someone and they crossed for a try, but maybe I'm thinking a bit wrong there. And Jacob Kiraz as well. Again, his work rate, he was so hard to contain. Even in that first half when the Bulldogs were being dominated, he was just so hard to contain. And for him to score that final try was very deserved. We've talked about it a million times, but you do the hard stuff, you get rewarded with tries, and that's another example of it there. 18 runs, 158 metres from Kiraz, 1 line break, 1 try, and 12 tackle breaks. Thought he was good. Also thought Montoya was good, taking a lot of hard runs, 17 runs, 131 metres, and a try from Marcelo Montoya. Matt Burton, very good, 14 runs, 123 metres. He just kept going at it. He ended up with a try assist as well. And now let's talk about Viliami Kikau, not Viliami Fafita. Shout out Viliami Fafita of Dragons and my Supercoach team fame of last year, the old front row forward, second row forward, Nuff. But Viliami Kikau we're here to talk about. He was so good in that second half. So his stats by the end of the game, 12 runs, 119 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 1 try, 3 tackle breaks, and 31 tackles, 3 missed. In that second half, he was just, I don't know what his stats were in the first half. I can't imagine they were like anything spectacular. I'm pretty sure essentially everything he did came in that second half, as most things did for the Bulldogs at, 20-0. It would do that to you to end up being 32-20. He was so good, and I don't know if he's New South Wales eligible. He probably is, but with all the second rows that we have, he's not getting a bait there. But essentially, since coming over from the Panthers, he's not missed a beat, and he still doesn't get the recognition he deserves, in my opinion. When he was at the Panthers, he was like probably top 3 second row in the game, and in my opinion, there's been no drop-off. So is he still top 3 second row in the game? He probably is. Like, he's so good at what he does. His hands, his quick hands are so underrated when you consider how huge he is and how much work he gets through. Yeah, he was unbelievable in this game as well. And Harry Hayes also got through a huge amount of work, 12 runs, 127 metres in 44 minutes and 25 tackles. He, quote-unquote, passed a HIA where he was knocked out. So I don't know, the NRL sort of has a bit to answer for there, because far out, Harry Hayes should not have got back on the field. Ended up coming back on the field, making an error straight away. So I don't know if that was concussion symptoms, but yeah, a bit worrying there. But yeah, just a really, really good game to watch. As I said, I don't have, it doesn't really change my views of either of these sides. I still think they're both top 4 sides, and they both just put out good displays, whether it was in one half or the second half. It shows that the Raiders can keep the Bulldogs, who are a bloody good team, to nil for a good amount of time and put 20 points on them, who are a fantastic defensive team, but it also shows the Bulldogs can come back from that and win the game. So I don't have much negative to say. Obviously, it's a game that the Raiders sort of let slip. And as a Raiders fan, you're probably a bit more disappointed than I am. But as a neutral fan, I still think these two teams can go very, very far this season. And I think it was just a really good game of rugby league. Let's move over to the Dragons and the Warriors. So this one, I was worried. I was, considering the 3 games previous to this and the comebacks that had happened, for the Warriors to lead 14-0 and then it comes back to being 14-all, and I'm like, fuck, it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen to my team. I was bloody worried. I was like, it's happening. But then in the 69th minute, Luke Metcalf put over the field goal to put us up 15-14. And I thought it was such a huge play. When momentum's not going your way, when the Dragons have everything going for them, and once again, I thought the Warriors defended amazingly. Like, we scored in the 7th minute and the 15th minute. We didn't score another try for the rest of the game, and we just turned up defensively. Normally when the momentum's at the back of the Dragons or just any team who you're up against, and they're coming at you all day, they're putting a few tries on here and there, you're like, shit, what do we do? The Dragons scored in the 38th minute through Gutherson, the 48th minute through Egan, and the 51st minute through Allen. So it was like a 13-minute period where they scored their 3 tries. Huge momentum there. Big momentum that they've got there. And the Warriors go, okay, for the next 29 minutes, the next half hour of this game, we're turning up defensively. And yes, sure, the Warriors' attack wasn't there. There was a few players who just errors and whatnot. But their defense, once again, it turned up, they scrambled for everything, and I love the way that they played. But for me, it was that Luke Metcalf field goal in the 69th minute that just changed the game. It wasn't about waiting for better field position or trying to score a try before that. You've still got 11 minutes left of the game. Let's score a try and take a field goal out of the equation. It's kick an early one, put yourself ahead. As soon as there's scoreboard pressure, it completely changes the way that the Dragons have to play. The Dragons don't need to get 40 meters out and then pop a field goal over anymore, because shit, that's not going to do anything. They need to now score a try. If they kick a field goal, it only draws the game again. It goes to extra time. So it just changes the entire dynamic of how the team plays. And I think it was you could just see that the way that the Dragons were playing their footy before that field goal and the way that they played it after that field goal, like, it just got into their heads, and Metcalf completely changed the game with that. And it's just going to show how fucking good he has been. Of course, scored another try in this one. He scored the one in the 7th minute, kicked 3 goals, and kicked that field goal. But it's just the presence of mind to do that with the experience that he has at halfback, and filling in for a legend of the game, the legend of the club in Sean Johnson, just to have that whereabouts and knowledge to be able to do that confidence to do that, it was so good, and it really changed the game in my opinion. So the Warriors ended up clinging on and winning that one 15-14, and just a really, really good win for them. As I said, still things to improve on. They didn't score another try from the 15th minute onwards, so the attack was left a lot to be desired. There was just a few errors, like Dallin Watene-Zelezniak in his first game back I thought was poor, but obviously he's been injured for a lot of the season and he will build into that. He also did end up making the intercept. We didn't actually make the intercept, but he went for the intercept to save the game at the end, and got the ball, didn't catch it and score a try or anything, but he got the ball, which stopped the Dragons from going anywhere, and that was good play as well. So there's still things to build into. I think Roger Tuivasa-Sheck comes back this week. You guys will probably know by the time this podcast is out whether we get Roger back. There's still players to come back, but just another really good win for the Warriors. As for the Dragons, it's a disappointment. Like, it's the result most people expected. The Warriors are a top 4 team at the moment. Most people probably expected the Warriors to be winning this game. I hold the Dragons in a pretty high regard this season. I tipped the Dragons. I thought the Warriors, they've been up for a long time. The Dragons, they need to get a win. Like, they've been down for a sort of a little while now, and I believe in them as a footy side to get a win. So I tipped the Dragons. I tipped against my side. Obviously, there's a bit of other psychological sort of terms behind that. Like, if I get my tip right, but the Warriors lose, at least there's a little bit of solace. But if I get my tip wrong, my team wins, and then I'm happy that way. So it's just trying to make myself not really, really happy or really, really depressed if it swings either way. But I did believe that the Dragons would due a win. They've been playing not terrible footy. I think they're a lot better of a side than where they are on the ladder. And they put together 3 tries. They did miss. Like, if they kick their conversions, they do win this game regardless. Like, they scored more tries than the Warriors. Did I think they were the better side in this game? I still don't really think that they were, even though they scored more tries. But they could have scored more. Like, I thought this Dragons side had a lot more points in them than only 3 tries. They broke the Warriors down defensively a fair few times, but the Warriors scrambled. Like, I don't know where to really place this loss for the Dragons. It's another loss, which is just, it's tough because now their season is, sort of slowly withering away because it's loss after loss after loss. But I think there's still a lot to them. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do, if there's any roster changes this week or what they do heading into their next game. Who have they got this week? So they take on the Broncos in Suncorp. Now, that is going to be a huge game. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the Broncos, but for where these sides are coming off the losses that they've come off, it's going to be a huge game. I'm actually really, really excited for that one. But yeah, I don't really know where to place this loss for the Dragons, to be honest. It's just one of those ones that, did it get away? Yes. Was it ever really theirs? I'm not sure. So it's just a loss to a good footy side. They competed with them. Should they have won it? Maybe. Did they deserve to win it? Maybe. I'm not really sure. Regardless, they didn't win it. It's another loss. They move on from there. Dragons fans, if you're listening to this podcast, let me know what you thought of this performance and what you're thinking about your team in general this season. I'd love to hear from you guys. In terms of standout players, while we're on the Dragons, we'll start with them. I mean, Clint Gutherson again, he's trying his absolute darndest out there for the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Shame I sold him in Supercoach this week. I actually don't think he scored too great in Supercoach anyway. But 21 runs, 200 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try and 4 tackle breaks. He's still getting through everything. I love the way that they're using him. I thought Valentine Holmes looked dangerous as per, always in the centres, and that with 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 5 tackle breaks, and 15 runs, 133 metres. Corey Allen I thought was really good. Now, when they picked him over Sione Fainu after the Tui Pilotu injury, I was a bit like, interesting, considering Allen predominantly has been an out-and-out fullback for his career. Obviously played a fair bit on the wing, but for me, he's always been a fullback. Was a gun fullback coming through for the Broncos as well. And Sione Fainu Sione Finau, I should say. Finau, not Fainu. Scored like 4 tries or 6 tries in 2 games in the trials, and he looks like a talent. I was surprised that they picked Corey Allen, but he's been solid. He came in 16 runs, 164 metres, a try in this one. Did have 3 errors, which he's always been known to have, but I like the work that he got through. Doesn't necessarily provide the game-breaking stuff that maybe for now can provide, but do they need that when they've got Valentine Holmes or whatnot? I'm not sure. Regardless, I thought he was fine. King Tonga and Flanagan weren't nearly as good as they, sort of were last week. I think when the game got down to the clutch, these two really didn't control the game where they should have. And, fair enough for King Tonga. He's still very, very early in his career. To me, he's also still a 5'8", not a halfback, even though he's playing in that halfback role. But Flanagan, I think he's been around enough that he should be controlling this one. And I'm seeing a lot of negativity towards Flanagan this year. I think Flanagan's been really good this year, to be honest. But in this one, I thought he was quite poor. Just didn't control the game when his team needed him to. But this team, what they also missed out on was Toby Couchman, who they lost after 24 minutes. He has been their best forward by a country mile this year, and then not having him out there was just a huge, huge loss for them. They never really had someone to pick up his slack. I thought Jack DeBellin, when he came onto the field, he played 48 minutes. I thought he was really good. He's someone that we mentioned like last week. I didn't think he deserved to be dropped, in saying that I think Hamish Stewart has been really good in the starting lock role. With DeBellin coming off the bench, 16 runs, 139 metres. He had a line break and try assist to Who did he put over? Was it Dylan Egan? I think it was Dylan Egan just after half time with a beautiful ball. Love the hands that he plays with Jack DeBellin, and love the way he defends so well. 32 tackles, 1 miss. And just, thought he was excellent. And Jaden Sewer, I thought he had a really good redemption this week as well. 15 runs, 149 metres from Jaden Sewer. 4 runs, 2 offloads, 41 tackles. Dylan Egan scoring another try and looking good. Honestly, their bench was really, really good. Little provided a bit of spark again. Luciano Leilua, I think he ended up starting. Yeah, he did end up starting. Played the full 80, actually. 13 runs, 134 metres. Who did he start for? Oh, Dylan Egan, true. He came off the bench and scored that try, which was really good. Meanwhile, Leilua, really good off the bench with 13 runs, 134 metres. And Loco Pacifici Tonga, someone that we've talked about last year a lot and this year a lot. A talent that we are so excited by. He can be a generational forward. I really believe that. He got his NRL debut and played 30 minutes off the bench. I thought he looked really good as well. 12 runs, 111 metres in his debut. 18 tackles, 0 miss. So thought that was really good for the Dragons and for Loco Pacifici Tonga. Thought he was fantastic. And that's the big thing about this Dragons side. They've still got so many young fellas to come into it. The future is looking very, very bright for them. For the Warriors, we've already talked a lot about Luke Metcalf. I won't mention him again, but I thought he was excellent. Charles Nickel-Klugstad, I thought he was so good in this one. Just 26 runs, 212 metres, 7 tackle breaks, 13 tackles, 0 missed at fullback as well. He keeps turning up. I don't know why he doesn't get the love he deserves, and people still talk about Tane Tuapiki at fullback or Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at fullback or sign Joey Manu and put him at fullback. Newsflash, Joey Manu is not doing anything at fullback that Charles Nickel-Klugstad can't do. Last year when Joey Manu ran that 360-something metres and it was like a new record, and then it was taken back down and it was still ridiculous. Now, everyone talked about it. It was unbelievable, and rightly so. It was ridiculous. We covered it on the podcast. I talked about it, and it was fantastic. He was everywhere. That same round, Charles Nickel-Klugstad ran for 1 less metre than him. Did anyone mention it? Do you guys remember that? Do you remember? I'm sure you all remember. I just mentioned that game about Joey Manu. I'm sure you know exactly which game I'm talking about. Charles Nickel-Klugstad ran for 1 less metre in that game. Well, in that round, they didn't play each other. But in that same round, 1 less metre, wasn't a word said about him. He does the exact same things. He works hard. He runs so hard. I think he's got better ball playing than Joey Manu. Maybe he's not as threatening in his runs, but he works through the other stuff, and we have threats everywhere across the park. And I love his playing out the back with his ball playing. I'm so happy he re-signed on what would be half the money that Joey Manu would sign for. So let's get that out of the way. And I thought Chans had a bloody brilliant game in this one. Thought Adam Pompey was really good. Tane Tuapiki had his moments, still a few errors, as did Watene Zelezniak. But regardless, the Warriors, they ground out another win. It was just a huge win for them. Mitch Barnett was their best player, in my opinion, and made our team of the week. 64 minutes from Barnett, 20 runs, 186 metres, 47 tackles. He was huge in the middle and swiftly followed by Aaron Clark, who we've mentioned every single fucking week because he's been the signing of the year. 18 runs in 65 minutes, 177 metres from Clark, and 52 tackles. Those two just went at it all fucking day. They were unbelievable, in my opinion. So they were the difference makers, was just Aaron Clark and Mitch Barnett just going at it. Thought Wade Egan was really, really good. Played 73 minutes and ended up with 50-odd tackles of his own. And good to see Leka Halasima getting another 80 minutes at second row, 11 runs, 120 metres from him. Thought he was really good, as was Dimitri Vaimonga when he came off the bench as well. So just another really, really good win from the Warriors. It wasn't pretty, but they grounded out, and they're winning in all different ways. And it's just building their season very, very nicely. We've spent way too long. There's still 3 games to go, which means we're going to have to try and make these ones quick. So sorry to your teams. This one's an easy one to talk about, though. The Cowboys and the Panthers coming to the first draw of 2025, 30 all. Wow, what a game. And in fairness, I think it's the perfect reflection of what this game was. I don't think either team deserved to lose. I don't think either team deserved to win. Both teams were equally matched. It was so exciting to watch. I didn't watch this one live. I had to then go back and rewatch it without knowing the score, which was great because if I knew the score, this would not nearly have had as much intrigue and excitement to it. But attacking-wise, these teams just went at it. A lot of the tries were just great exhibits of ball playing and great exhibits of just breaking your opponent down and knowing how to do that with your game plan. And then there was just individual efforts and just long-range efforts. It had everything this game. It was great. It was really, really fun to watch. A loss for the Panthers meant, a worrying sign of their season, what to do now. Does a draw mask that? Maybe a little bit, but I think it still gives a live, the Cowboys, they're not a bad footy side at all. 30 points. They'd come off 4 wins leading into... We beat them last week? The Warriors beat them last week? I think the Warriors beat them last week. Leading into that Warriors game last week where we beat them. But they're coming off some really good form and they're still in some good form. And they showed up against the Panthers side who has been down. They've got a really good win last week against the Broncos. It's just a really good game, to be honest. And I think it's a good reflection of where these sides are both sort of at. I don't know what it means for the Panthers long term, but we're not talking about long term. Realistically, we're talking about this week, and it was just a really good game. We'll have to see what it means for these clubs next week. Again, team list coming out shortly, probably out by the time this podcast is out. I'm hearing whispers Jake Clifford is going to get dropped on the back of this game, which I thought is interesting. Did he ice his opportunities in the clutch? No. Did the Panthers, though? No. And they've got Nathan Cleary. I don't think Jake Clifford... I was very harsh on Tom Duffy getting dropped after the first 2 rounds or whatever it was, thinking that his forward pack did not give him any chance to build anything, to really stamp his authority on there. But then they brought Clifford in and I thought he's been really good. So I was harsh on Duffy, but was it the incorrect decision? Probably not, because I think Clifford's been pretty darn good since coming in. He's had moments where he's been poor, but I think overall he's been good. If he does get dropped after this game, and I'm hearing it's not Duffy coming back in, I'm hearing they're going to move Jackson Purdue into the halves. I think that's really strange, not because Purdue can't handle the halves. He's been a half growing up. I think he'll excel everywhere, Purdue, but I think he's been incredible at centre. I think Clifford has been good at halfback. Keep in mind, Clifford's stats this game: 9 runs, 63 metres, 1 line break, 1 try, 3 tackle breaks, 17 tackles, only 2 missed, 370 metres. Has 2 errors here, sure. And he didn't ice his opportunities with the field goals. But to drop him after you drew to the Panthers, the 4-time premiership Panthers. That's not a time to really drop your halfback, in my opinion. Especially when you're moving your 19-year-old rookie into the halves. He's now going to have all the eyes on him if this is the case. And I'm not, as I said, team lists haven't dropped when I'm recording this, so I don't know. But what I'm hearing, that's going to be the case. I just think it's a strange move if that is to happen. Regardless, yeah, let's look at standout players for the Cowboys while we're here. Scott Drinkwater, once again, he's been fantastic literally since forever. He hasn't had a bad game this season, in my opinion. Even when the Cowboys were doing poor, he was doing well. 20 runs, 166 metres, 1 line break assist, 2 try assists. That one, he made up the guts. Again, I think it was off a Purdue offload when he was on the left-hand side. Offloaded it back to Drinkwater, who just used his pace, backed it through the middle, sprinted through there, and then he stopped just to give that extra foot of space for Tom Dearden, who was screaming up in support. He just stopped on a dime to give Dearden that little bit more time to get there. Found Dearden back on the inside, and Dearden raced away for that try. That was spectacular stuff. We know Tom Dearden's a freak. His stats for this game as well: 14 runs, 89 metres, 1 try, 1 try assist, 1 tackle break, and 24 tackles. I could go through this entire Cowboys team. They all did pretty darn well. Jackson Purdue, you guys know how much I rave on about him. But again, 21 runs, 199 metres, 1 line break, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist, 2 tackle breaks against the Panthers. Viliami Vailea was really good on the right-hand side, 20 runs, 170 metres. The only one that you can really say had a poor game was Robert Derby. Now, I'm not going to harp on too much about it. Just a lot of errors from Derby. But, this happens. Dylan Edwards had one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. It's probably like 6-7 years ago now. Like, it's probably a fair while ago. It might have been 2017. Regardless, he dropped every kick that went his way, Dylan Edwards, and now he's the New South Wales and Australian fullback and a 4-time premiership winner. Is Robert Derby going to be a 4-time premiership winner? Maybe not. Is he going to be the, Queensland winger or whatnot? Probably not. But these games happen. They can happen to the best players in the world, and it can just be the making of you. The thing I do like about Robert Derby is he still had 25 runs. He ran for 200 meters, which was the most in the Cowboys team. It was actually the most in the game. Robert Derby ran for more meters than Brian To'o. He still scored a try, had 2 line breaks. He had 4 tackle breaks. And yes, I know this doesn't excuse the errors. The errors were bad. Some led directly to points. But I'm just trying to find the positives that he kept going at it. He didn't go into his shell like, I've just had the worst game of my life. Get me out of here. He just kept trying, and that's what I like to see from Robert Derby. Was it a good game? No. But I do like to see the efforts that he did, and he put that out there for everyone to see. So I want to give a massive shout out to him for that, because it could have been a tough night for him. It was a tough night for him. It could have been a much worse night if the Cowboys lost and all the eyes are on him. But I'm hoping this is just going to be the maker of him, because I think he's been pretty solid this season. And again, if you take away those errors, not that you can, I thought he put together a pretty good performance in this one. Besides that, for the Cowboys, as I said, no one was necessarily poor. I thought everybody played relatively well. I'm not going to point out everyone because we're trying to get through this quick. But I thought it was just a really good game for them. As I said, where they go from here, I'm interested to see. But I still think they're a big chance of making the top 8 this season. The Cowboys, I'm liking the way that they're playing their footy. I know it's a loss into a draw now in their last couple games, but they're still a bloody good football side. For the Panthers, are we going to be more harsh on the Panthers even though they're playing worse footy than the Cowboys and they're worse on the ladder than them? Maybe. And I think the only reason I'm going to be more harsh on them is because when it comes down to those clutch moments, when it comes to a golden point game, they win. So I thought that when it got to this stage, when it got to 30 all, and it's going to golden point, the Panthers would come out the victors. And it would have been a tough game because, as I said, I don't think neither team deserved to lose or win. I thought a draw was perfect for these two sides. But it went to golden point. I'm like, the Panthers win this. They've got Nathan Cleary. But they're just not setting up the way that they were. I don't know what it is. Like, Nathan Cleary had a good strike that was charged down, and fair play to the Cowboys for getting there and getting onto that. They worked very hard to stop that. But, it's just interesting that in the clutch, this Panthers side isn't winning games. And that's, as I said, I'm not being harsh on them. I'm maybe being a little bit harsher than the Cowboys, but that's only because in a game like this, it was set up for them. This is their moment. This is Nathan Cleary's moment. And they didn't ice that. Now, do I think that they deserve to lose the game? No. Do I think they deserve to win? No. We've said that already. So it's not like this is a really poor performance from the Panthers. I think it's a good reflection of where they are. But yeah, I thought when it came to the clutch, they should have probably iced their moments. Like, the Cowboys have more excuses than the Panthers to not ice moments in a game like this. That's sort of where I lean with that. But in terms of standout players, again, I can go through essentially most of the Panthers side. Dylan Edwards, 23 runs, 192 metres doing his work out there. Alan Motti, 148. Luke Garner at centre, being excellent again. 2 tries at centre, 14 runs, 134 metres, 13 tackles, only 2 missed. Brian To'o on his return, 18 runs, 193 metres. I can go on and on. Blaise Talangi, I thought this was the coming of age game for him, especially at the Panthers. For him to, I think he ended with 4 try assists and a try himself. That is, where are the stats? Yeah, 4 try assists and a try. That is insane. The way he straightened and got some of those balls out, it was Jerome Luai-esque. I think it was one of those balls to Luke Garner that he hit. That was it was gorgeous ball playing. And at such a young age, and to be thrust into the limelight so early, I thought this was a really, really good game for him. He ended up making our team of the week at on the bench, which is a bit controversial because it meant it took away from Latrell Mitchell because of my spine player rule, who couldn't make the bench of my team of the week and couldn't beat a certain Ryan Pappenhausen coming up at fullback. But yeah, I thought it was a fantastic game from Blaze Salungi, and I'm excited to see where he progresses from here. Still 6 missed tackles, but he also made 20. He's going to be a target in defense. We know that. I think it's just part of his second role was to help him out there. And I thought they did in this one. I thought Isaiah Papali'i was really, really good at second row. Ended up playing the full 90 minutes, 19 runs, 140 meters, 1 line break, 1 try, and 34 tackles. Bloody Moses Leota at front row. I thought he was really good, as was Lindsay Smith. 18 runs, 154 metres for Leota, 14 runs, 111 for Smith. Liam Martin ran for 127. Isaiah Yeo again played the full 90, as did Martin, to be fair. But Isaiah Yeo in the middle, 23 runs, 168 metres, 3 offloads, 38 tackles, 0 missed in 90 minutes is just insane. He was fantastic. And as I said, like, I can go through their entire team. Liam Henry off the bench, 18 runs, 136 metres was really good. Then Thomas Jenkins came off the bench and scored a fucking try. Like, they played well. Their defense isn't there. We've seen that. We know that. Is it going to come along? I'm not sure. We're now 10 rounds in and it hasn't happened yet. I don't know what the Panthers are this season. I don't know what they're throwing up, but you can be damn sure that they're always going to be able to compete whenever they want, and they can beat whoever they want whenever they want. This game, it didn't deserve a victory, and I'm happy with the scoreline. What that means for their seasons moving forward, I'm not sure, but I don't think either team played for, and as a neutral fan, again, I really enjoyed this game. Let's move over to the penultimate game of round 10. We have gone way over time. This one, there's not a lot to talk about, to be honest, so let's get it out of the way. The Storm defeat the Tigers 64-0. It was, yeah, it's just the Storm. The Storm coming off, a few mediocre weeks, not really playing their best footy. I don't think they've played their best footy since probably when they beat the Warriors. Like, let's go through their last game. I know I'm trying to be quick, but just to get a bit of perspective, they lost to the Raiders 18-20 last week. They beat the Rabbitohs 24-16 the week before that. They lost to the Dolphins 42-22 the week before that. Yeah, so it wasn't since round 6 when they beat the Warriors 42-14 where I thought that they've played their best footy. Here they are, a bright day in Melbourne against the Tigers, who, again, this isn't the Tigers of old. If this was last year's Tigers, you expect this score. But this Tigers team shouldn't be leaking 64-0, but it just goes to show that the Storm, whenever they want on their day, they can and they will do this. It is absurd, the sort of footy that they can play. They genuinely just take the piss, and this is why I still think that they are the best team in the comp by a good margin. I think when it comes to a grand final, they will step up as they always sort of do. And, Raiders and Bulldogs, I think they're next on the rack. I think at the moment they're probably still both ahead of the Storm. I know the Bulldogs certainly are on the ladder. And I know Warriors are right up there on the ladder as well. I think they're a rung below those teams as well. I still think the Storm are just a rung higher than everyone else. I think they're just so good. To win this game 64-0 is just ridiculous. And what they've been accused of since, they absolutely blitzed the Eels in round 1. They blitzed the Warriors in round 14. They put the Q in the rack against the Eels in round 1. I don't want to say they put the Q in the rack against the Warriors, like they didn't take stars off in that game, but they just sort of were like, that's enough, let's settle down. In this game, they kept going for the full 80, so it was just a statement game for them, and it's tough that the Tigers had to be that team that the statement game was up against, but does it say much about the Tigers? I don't think it necessarily says too negative about the Tigers. I don't know what team stops the Melbourne Storm on this day. I don't know if any other team is having anything less than 64 put on them. The Tigers, were they bad? Sure. Defensively, they were bad, and attack, they just never even got a chance to do anything, in my opinion. Like, I don't know what the possession stats are, but only 56% possession to 44. That felt like it was just the Storm had the entire thing, the entire game, and the Tigers never had a chance. like the Storm made more errors than the Tigers. The penalties were the same. There were 5 ruck infringements for the Tigers, but again, they had to do so much more defense. Where's the defense between these two teams? So there was a 900-meter run difference between the two clubs. There was, it's not showing the tackles. Anyway, like we know the gist. I'm not going to be too harsh on the Tigers, but I also don't think there's much to say about them when we get to their quote-unquote standout players. It'll be very short and sharp, and I'm sorry about that, but Tigers fans, you probably don't want much said about this game. For the Storm, we're also going to try and be short and sharp because I can't give a rap to everyone. So let's go through the main stars of the show. Ryan Pappenhausen, this was his day. 4 tries, 36 points. He had 10 conversions from 11 attempts. 36 points equals like the NRL record. 22 runs, 211 meters, 2 line breaks, 0 try assists, 7 tackle breaks, and as I said, 4 tries at fullback. 3 of them being the first 3 tries of the game. He scored a hat trick in 16 minutes. He was insane. Like, he was genuinely insane. There's been talks about the Blues fullback, and I'm in the boat of Tedesco. As a Blues fan, I'm happy to have Edwards there. I love Edwards. I'm in the boat that Tedesco deserves it, but fucking hell, Ryan Pappenhausen bloody deserves it. He is such a good player. He's still a superstar, and a team like this, that he can have games like this, is just freakish. But the big thing about this team was all of their spine players played incredible, like Cameron Munster, 16 runs, 164 meters, 3 line breaks, 2 line break assists, a try, 5 tackle breaks. He was incredible. Jerome Hughes, he got an early spell in this one, but also a try from him, 7 runs, 83 meters, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 1 try, 6 tackle breaks. And as I said, the try. Bronson Garlick, the stand-in hooker, 65 minutes he ended up playing. He scored a try. He had 5 runs for 55 meters, and he had a line break assist and a try assist, and probably made 31 tackles and 2 missed. Like, even without Harry Grant, they were fantastic. All of their spine was insane. I thought Bronson Garlick had his best game of all time. Shame I didn't play him in Supercoach. Kicking myself about that, but who would have known that they would put up a performance like this? Sean Bloor and Eli Katoa, I thought they were really, really good. Sean Bloor especially, like, his runs are getting more and more venomous every time he takes them. 17 runs, 172 meters against his former side. 25 tackles, 0 missed. And Eli Katoa, he ended up with a try, 13 runs, 146 meters. Like, there's names I haven't mentioned, like Nelson Asofa Solomona, who made our team of the week off the bench. In his return, he had 35 minutes on the field. He had 13 runs, 133 meters, and he scored another try. He was just incredible. I thought he was huge in his return, and just adds another dimension to this team off the bench when he's bringing games like this. Josh King scored a fucking try again. Like, yeah, I can't mention everyone. The entire Storm team was unbelievable, like genuinely unbelievable. And I think they can put more teams to this. I don't think there's any team that is giving up any less than 50 to them this week. So it's a shame it happened to happen. Does that make sense? Happened to happen to the Tigers, because of how they've been the last few years, and it's just a shame that the team that's run last 3 years in a row has this game put on them. I think they're a far better side than this, but I think the Storm are just, as I said, leagues above everyone else. And when they want to, when they're up for a game like this, they will do it. In terms of good performances for the Tigers, I thought Jerome Puller he played very well. 16 runs, 152 meters. We gave a big rap to him last week. 8 tackles from him. Terrell May, again, 73 minutes he played. 12 runs and only 106 meters, which you come to expect when your team has no possession. But 52 tackles he made in the middle as well. Like, he's still superhuman even in losses. Didn't make the team of the week, but geez, he very much could have. I want to see Alex Twal. I want to see what he missed in tackles this week. Because he's Alex Twal and he doesn't miss. He didn't miss a tackle. In this game against the fucking Melbourne Storm, Alex Twal didn't miss a tackle. What a fucking unit. 8 missed tackles from Samuela Finer was tough. But then again, 6 missed tackles from Staines, 4 from Galvin, 5 from Luai. Like, there's missed tackles across the board. 6 from Talon De Silva in his 30 minutes on the field. That's tough. again, I'm not going to sit here and try and be negative. I don't try and be negative to players. If there's a really bad performance, we'll discuss it because it's a talking point. But as I said, it's just one of those games that could have happened to any team. It could have happened to any player, and it just happened to be the Tigers. So that was a tough game for them. Is it going to crush their season? I sure hope not. I sure hope that this isn't like all of the noise catching up to them from the early parts of the season. You know, they've been up for a long time. They've been playing some really good footy, and they've had all the Galvin stuff. They got through all that. If this is the noise catching up to them and they plummet from this, I'll be very disappointed for the Tigers because they deserve so much better and Tigers fans deserve better. I hope this is just one of those games that fucking, like, if I'm Benji, I'm saying disappointing. Like, obviously, boys, I want better out of you, but this is happening to any team in the comp. Hold your heads high. We're a better team than this. Think of where we were these last few years and think of where we are now. Put this behind us. Forget it ever happened, and let's go back to how we play our footy. Because, I think the Tigers are a much better side than this suggests. I just think the Storm are the best team in the world. So that's where we're going to leave that one. We'll go into this final game of the round, the Seagulls and the Sharkies. The Sharkies winning this one 30-14. I haven't talked about my tips throughout the week. Let's go through them all now. I got the Dolphins up. I went down on the Knights. I went down on the Broncos. I went down on the Raiders. I went down on the Cowboys because it was a draw. I went up on the Storm, and I get this one up here with the Sharkies. I did tip the Sharkies. I just really like the energy that they came out with in this game. I think it's more energy than I've seen from them this season. They were just fighting for every possession, like scrapping for every single possession. They were taking intercepts, scrambling in defense, like just really good signs from the Sharkies. Was it their best performance of the season? Probably not, but like it's not too far off it. There's still areas that they need to improve, but I think defensively, I thought they were incredible. Like the first Tolotau Kula try, like Manly scored 2 tries, both from Kula. The first one was just Sharks made an error. I think it was Braden Trindle made an error attacking the line. Ola Kawaju picks it up. He sprints away. He puts like a kick in. Saab misses the kick. It bounces to Garrick. He offloads to Saab. Saab sprints. He offloads to Kula. Like, it was scrappy. It was off a Sharks error. And then the Seagulls went the length of the field with their speed, man. Like, not much you can do. Realistically, you take that try away and we're down to whatever the hell we're down to. But the other cooler try, I think that was good setup. I can't actually remember the other cooler try. It's escaping my mind. But regardless, I thought the Sharks' defense was really good. I liked the way that they attacked. I thought Hines, like his ball playing, just in general, all of his playing was silky smooth. He put the chip kick over, the chip and chase for Ronaldo Mulitalo. Obviously, a fan of the show, those two, with the chip and chase try. But that was gorgeous. I like the fact that Ronaldo Mulitalo, he's been playing in field a lot more, like in that moment there, but he's also been playing centre a lot more in attack that I've been noticing. And it's looking really good. Obviously, he's one of the better wingers in our comp, Mulitalo, but I like that he's just sniffing around everywhere looking for more stuff because he's an exciting player and he can just sort of make things happen. But that was a really good try. Then he had the Hines, he had that ball to Adam Fanua-Blake, which was bloody brilliant as well. I think Hines has just been playing some really, really good footy as of late, and the Sharks have been lifting on the top of it. I still think they're a team that they'll go on a run. I think they'll build into, I still think they're probably a top 4 side this year. I honestly don't think my Warriors are, but I do think the Warriors still have a ton of improvement left in them. I think considering where we are on the ladder, the Warriors, we've played nowhere near our best footy. But the Sharks, I think, across the board, they've still got so much growing to do. And I think when they hit their straps, which they're starting to do, like this game is, I don't even think they played the best footy here, but they played really good footy against a side in the Seagulls who are, probably a top 8 side as well. A lot of people tip them for a top 4 side this year. I think it's just really, really good footy from the Sharks at the moment. In terms of other standout players, we mentioned Hines and how good he has been. Still blows me away that he's getting hate because he's been one of their best players all season. Will Kennedy, probably his quietest game of the season, but again, he's just everywhere. I think he still picked up a few points. He's so safe at the back. As I said, in the last few weeks, he chimes in perfectly in attacking raids. I love what he's doing. Jesse Ramian, my boy. You guys know I love Ramian. He's in my Supercoach side. 18 runs, 176 metres, 3 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, 12 tackles, 0 missed. KL Iro, with a try again, 16 runs, 130 meters. He was great. Fanua Blake, another try from him. You know, he knows how to sniff out a try. Fanua Blake, what did he make? 20 runs, 149 meters as well from him. Brayley was a lot better in this one. I liked the way that he sniffed around the ruck and just made plays happen. Thought Nikita, his lines again were incredible. Billy Burns, I thought he had a really good moment, and then he had a really poor moment as well. I can't remember what each of the moments were. I did like that he was the one, I believe he was the one who chased back and he tackled Saab. It didn't make the difference because Saab offloaded to Cooler and Cooler scored. But like, Saab and Garrick are sprinting away on that right-hand side, and Billy Burns, your left-hand second rower, or technically the Sharks' right hand, but on the opposite side of the field, your second rower sprints, and he chases back. He actually makes that tackle on Saab to, quote-unquote, would have saved a try, but Cooler was there to offload the ball too. So I liked that effort. I thought there was something else they did later in the game, which was really good, but he also had an error that I didn't put down in my notes that was pretty bad. Thought Hamlin Nuele and Jesse Colquhoun off the bench were really good. Good to see them sort of back in the NRL. Hamlin Nuele taking that intercept and sprinting down that left-hand side was a sight to behold. But yeah, it was just a really good performance from the Sharks overall. The Seagulls, really, honestly, it was disappointing. It was pretty disappointing across the board. The fact that, as we mentioned, one of their tries was just, you know, against the run of play with their speed men doing what they do. And then the Cooler one, I think it was just Cooler being a freak as well. He was easily the best player. 14 runs, 134 meters, 4 tackle breaks, and 2 tries. They're only 2 tries. But yeah, besides that, there just wasn't much being made. Like Daly Cherry-Evans, thought he was genuinely actually pretty poor in this one. He couldn't make anything happen. Ton Trbojevic, you know, he ran for 23 times for 206 meters, but he couldn't make anything happen either. Just a lot of the men outside him weren't doing it. Like, I thought Olakau'atu was quiet as anything. I know he had that break and then kick and whatnot that started the try, but their forward pack just doesn't give enough punch. I like that Jake Trbojevic is back at front row, so it means Jazz Tavanga can play at lock, but then in 72 minutes, Trbojevic ran for 57 meters. And Jazz Tavanga, who I think you need big minutes out of because he gives a bit of punch, he only played 49 minutes and had 5 runs for 41 meters. Like, I don't know what they're doing realistically. Nathan Brown came off the bench and in 24 minutes he had 9 runs for 88 meters. Besides that, the only forwards who ran for over 100 were Tauki Aho with 12 runs for 107, which, you know, he's been solid for them this year, in my opinion. Tauki Aho, I think he's been one of their better forwards all year. And Olakau'atu with 12 runs and 106 meters in 80 minutes. And like 25 of those meters came in one run where he, you know, made that break and kicked it up. So I think their forward pack is just, it's missing something. I don't know what they do. Like Jake Trbojevic you need out there, but you need punch and they don't have it. And then like you get someone like Tavanga who brings that punch and you don't use him effectively. Bullymore, who was so good in the early parts, you're not using him effectively. I didn't think he was very good in this game at all anyway, to be honest, Bullymore. But like, yeah, I don't know. This Eagles forward pack, I know they're missing Paseka, who's their big boy. They're missing Aloye. I think they're missing Toa Sipley. They're missing a few boys. But like, they should still be putting up more of a fight and they need that punch through the middle. They're not able to play off the back of it. They need something from their forwards so that their strike weapons, their speed men can make something happen. And they just didn't get any of that in this game. In fairness, as I said, a lot of that comes from the Sharks' defense as well. I thought the Sharks were really, really good defensively. But yeah, just a poor game overall from the Seagulls, to be honest. And another team that I'm really interested to sort of see where their season goes from here. Obviously, Trbojevic back, you'd expect him to get picked for Origin soon, so what happens there, who knows. But yeah, just a really sort of strange game for the Seagulls, a poor game, but yeah, interesting to see what they put out next week. Who have they got next week? You know what, let's do tips while we're here to finish off this podcast that's already been going too long. Anyway, round 11, the Knights and the Eels on Friday night. I will be taking the... Actually, don't know. The Knights have been playing some abysmal footy. I'll take the Knights because it's do or die and it's at McDonald Jones Stadium, but I'm not convinced that they win that one. Bulldogs Roosters, Accor Stadium, Sydney. I'll take the Bulldogs. The Roosters have been playing some really good footy recently. Obviously had the bye in the, this podcast, the round 10 that we're covering now, but they've been playing some really good footy. I'll still take the Bulldogs in that one. Dolphins and Warriors in Suncorp Stadium. You guys know I'm high on the Dolphins. Obviously the Warriors are my team and I'm so happy with how they've been playing. I think we're due a down week. I'm high on the Dolphins. It's in Brisbane, and again, the psychology of not tipping my team. So if they win, I'm happy because they're my team. But if they lose, hey, at least I got my tip right. I think I'll tip the Dolphins in that one. You guys will know more on Thursday when I do the tips and bets post on Instagram, which if you're not following, go and do so. That's where all of my content sort of goes over there. So that's the big place to be. But I'll be tipping the Dolphins over my Warriors. Cowboys and Seagulls, that's going to be a very interesting game. Dry track in Townsville. I hope it's dry track because a sunny day for these two teams at 5:30. Fuck, that'll be fun to watch. So I'll still be taking the Cowboys. I think they've been playing much better footy. But yeah, I'm not really convinced, especially with if they end up doing that. I actually might take Manly for an upset because if they do that Purdue switch, which I love Purdue, huge fan, and I know he can be a great half. He's come through the ranks of them. He'll be great there. I'm not convinced it's the answer for the Cowboys, and I also think that the Cowboys forward pack is not the strongest. So it's one of those games where the Seagulls don't need to overpower you in the forward pack. They can just do their stuff regardless. So it'll be a really entertaining game to watch. I might tip the Seagulls in that one, but again, not convinced. Sharkies in the Storm, 5th versus 3rd, Sharks Stadium in Sydney. That's going to be a really good game as well. It's going to be a cracker. I think, as we've said, the Sharks are building into their season really well. They're coming into a nice vein of form, but I can't tip against the Storm. After everything I've said, they're so far ahead of the competition. I will be tipping the Storm regardless, even though the Sharks are a good bogey side for them. Broncos, Dragons, this one's going to be very interesting as well. Both these sides need a win, desperate for a win after their last performances. I don't know. No Ben Hunt means Ezra Mann probably makes his return. It's going to be interesting to see the reception that he gets. I'll probably tip the Broncos because they're at home in Brisbane, but not convinced on that one. Raiders, Titans, that's an easy one. I'm tipping the Raiders, especially in Canberra. And then Tigers, Rabbitohs to finish the round. It's also a tough one. Campbelltown Sports Stadium. I'll probably take the Rabbitohs based on their form. But that one will wrap us up just short of 2 hours. Far out. We need to find a way to get these podcasts going down a bit in time. But if you've made it this far, thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening along. I appreciate all of the listeners. I haven't been checking numbers this year on the podcast. I'm just doing it because I love it. But if you are just a podcast listener, genuinely follow me over on the Instagram. That's where a lot of our work goes into over there. Doing a lot more work on there. But yeah, thank you guys for listening into this one. And I'll see you guys next time.